Hey, BassGeek here, and in September, one of the best jig bites of the year happens, but don't use a jig, do this instead. Okay, so I know it's technically August, but I want to tell you about this bite because it's coming up really soon. It's one of the best jig bites that you will ever have. Now, I heard a biologist, and I'll try to put the link in the description below so you can go watch this, but he was talking about one of my local lakes and how during September, I can't remember if it's the new moon or full moon, either way, they molt. But the crawfish, the bigger crawfish, tend to molt that time of year. And I can promise you, the bass know this. They know those crawfish are soft-shelled delights. But there's a second thing that tends to happen that time of year too, at least in my area, and they start dropping the lakes, which means all those crawdads and crayfish, whatever you want to call them, start to move down with the water level. And that's when I love to throw this bait. But before we talk about that incredible jig bite in September, let me show you a product that is also going to be great this time of year in August. And it is the Ditch Lobster by J-Bros. That's right, this thing is called the Ditch Lobster by J-Bros. Now what I love about this is a big old crawl bait. And like I said previously, in September, those big crawls come out. Now you can use this to make a big jig even bigger and bulkier. It's got a lot of good action to it on the fall. In August, I love to put this on a shaky head all by itself because it will stand straight up and have some incredible action that way. So even before we get to September, in August, one of the best things you could do is put something like this on a shaky head and drag it around. One of my favorites is by Omega. It's called the football shaky, or the foot shaky as they call it, but it has got an incredible hook on it, and it is a great time when everything's still slow in August to drag this thing around. This is a big bait, and it's got some really good action, and it'll stand straight up on that. As I said, when we move into September, one of the best jig bites of the year begins to happen. And why it's such a great jig bite is because the big crawls come out and molt. What looks more like a big crawl than a ditch lobster? Now, you can even rig this on the back of a jig if that's what you want to do, and make a big jig even bigger. Well, let me show you some of the colors that J-Bros has sent me. And this time of year, this is absolutely one of my favorites. This is good old Alabama crawl. This time of year, this is my hands down favorite color. This is pumpkin seed. Good old school color right there. Great this time of year also. This is white. This is a great color for a trailer, whether it be a bladed jig or a buzz bait, anything else you can think of. You know you gotta have a black and blue flake when the water's dirty. Is there anything any better? Now this is watermelon red, which is one of my hands down favorite colors, but it's also great if you only have brim. Put a little bit of chartreuse on the tips, you got a killer. This is Junebug, and let me tell you, this is an incredible color in cold water and in dirty water because everybody's throwing black or black and blue. This is green pumpkin purple. It is great around the smallmouth this time of year. They hate purple. And this, probably everybody's go-to. This is green pumpkin black flake, especially in the clear water that I fish. This, hands down, the #1 color I throw. So now I told you could rig it on a big jig. This is one of my favorite jigs, the Versa jig by Bass Amigos, and it really is pretty simple to rig. You just take it. I always hold my weed guard down, run it up and out of the bait, push it up over the keeper. There you have a big jig that is now even bulkier. But what I want to talk to you about today is doing this. This to me is going to look a lot more natural during the September jig bite, during the molt season, and it's one of my favorite ways to rig it during the end of August, middle of August. What I love about J-Bros is it's almost like it's made for this screw lock. So you just push it up on here, right in the middle of the bait. Screw it up on nice and tight. I like to get it nice and snug to the head. And that's one thing, you know, a lot of people talk about not using this, but look at this huge wide gap Gamakatsu hook in this bait. You're not going to have any trouble. Now, one of the things I love to do with this is I'll look at where it's going to come out. So I'll take the bait, lay it slightly to the side, and I want it to be just under the skin. So we'll fold up, and we'll just make that bait nice and straight to where you can barely feel the hook point right there. And trust me, you've got plenty of hook gap on these Omegas right there to get a hold of that fish. Now geeks, you know I use 1 or 2 knots 99.9% of the time. We're just going to tie a pit seam. It's just going to come down, and then we're just going to go 5 to 6 times. We're going to pass it through that loop at the top. We're going to pull it down. We're going to moisten so that we don't burn the line. Snug it, snug it. The only difference between that and a San Diego jam knot is that we go through the top loop and the bottom loop before we cinch it down. Now we cut our tag in and we can go fish this thing. So let's talk about rod, reel, and line setup. You geeks know I love my TFO, and this is their high end. Now they have came out with a new 100% made in the USA rod. You should go check those out. They are super high end, they are super sweet, but this is the Resolve Bass. This is a 7.6 heavy. This is just kind of my casting jig setup. And you can see it's easily rated from a 1/2 to a 1.5. I can throw 3/8 ounce on it, great. It's a fast tip, but these things are crazy sensitive. Now I've got this paired with an Arc Gravity, and this is, I believe, a G3, and it is an 8.1. Casting jigs, I'm cool with throwing that 8.1, and as always, I'm not fishing in a lot of grass. If you're fishing around a lot of grass or heavy cover, I'm just throwing 15 to 17 pound K9 Pro 100. Hey, make sure you check out the Pro 100. 10% off discount right there. So fishing this little bad boy, it's just like fishing a shaky head or a jig. I'm going to do a couple of different things when I fish it. I'm going to make a cast up to where I want, whether that's going to be shallow a lot of times during September or deeper in August when I'm out there still dragging this around the ledges. Once it hits the bottom, a big key is I'm going to hold my rod, and I'm not ever going past 11. So I'm going to be at about a 9, and I'm going to bring it up to 11, and then I'm going to reel down. Never getting that rod too high so that I can set the hook. I've got plenty of room to set the hook, so I'm not missing those fish. The 2 different retrieves that I like to use, if I'm covering water, generally I'm going to throw it out there, but after I make my cast, basically I'm going to reel up most of the slack. I'm just going to shake the slack in the line, try not to move the bait at all. That'll get those crawl claws to kind of moving, wiggling a little bit, shaking like a shaky head. Then I'll drag it just a touch, maybe a foot or so, and then I'm going to shake it again, and then I'm going to hop it and let it fall, because a lot of times you're going to get a good reaction bite when this thing falls. So I try to draw the fish in, hop it up, let it fall, so that maybe once it gets that movement, either up or as it falls, you get a good reaction bite. Now in August, when it's still hot, I'm not leaving the bottom. I am dragging this thing on bottom. I'm shaking the slack in the line, just like I said before, but I am then dragging, and I'm dragging it super slow when it's the hottest time of the year. Now hook set, again, it's gonna be straight up, then you're gonna reel down to keep that bass from jumping, then you're gonna boat hop them in. This is a big, juicy, girthy hook. You ain't gotta worry about getting the net on this. Don't fight them, don't play with them, crank their rear ends to the boat and put them in it. So make sure you try out this massive crawbait called the Ditch Lobster by J Bros. Of course, there'll be links in the description for everything. And if you want to learn more about a shaky head, make sure you go check out this video right here. As always, questions and comments in the comments section below. You geeks know I love to talk fishing with you. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell. Be part of the 100% Watch Squad. And you geeks rock.